Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
It was the final showdown before Election Day.
Do you really think books are more dangerous than guns?
An hour-long matchup that at times was rough and tumble.
Her commercials are constantly saying that she gave $400 checks back to everyone. So I'm glad she's admitting that those checks didn't come from her.
Tonight is the final time we'll see both candidates on the same stage until the election in 2 weeks.
Big question remains, did either one do anything to change minds? Mara McDonald live at Oakland University tonight. Two candidates do have many serious differences on policy, and we saw that tonight, Mara.
Well, we sure did, Devin. And here's the other thing we saw. Under a sort of a veneer of civility and elegance, think fencing match, what this really was a knife fight. Take a look.
The first 10 minutes were all about abortion.
Proposal 3 allows abortion up to the moment of birth for any reason, including sex selection. There will be no legislating around Proposal 3 because it will be language in the Constitution.
None of what she just said is true. And here's why you can't trust anything she's saying when it comes to reproductive rights. She's the one that said a 14-year-old child raped by her uncle is a perfect example of someone who should not have reproductive rights and the ability to choose. She went further to say it is healing for a person who's raped to carry that child to term.
The second 10, the economy.
A governor cannot fix global inflation, but what I can do is put more money in your pockets, and that's exactly what we've done.
This governor has not done anything to help inflation, but I would put money back in your pockets. I would make sure we have that child tax credit. I would make sure that we reduce the income tax.
And then there was relitigating COVID when it comes to kids.
Mrs. Dixon says that I kept students out longer than any other state. That's just not true. I worked closely with my Republican and Democratic governors, and kids were out for 3 months.
I'm pretty sure I just heard an audible gasp around town when Gretchen Whitmer said that kids were out of school for 3 months. Perhaps she wasn't paying attention to what was actually happening. We even had schools that were closed this year. This is shocking to me.
And real differences on how to prevent school shootings.
I would like to have armed security at our schools. I would like to make sure that we have a one entry point. I would also like to implement some of that plan that talks about how to identify a child that struggles with mental health, that might be considering self-harm or harming someone else.
There was a school shooting in Missouri yesterday in a district that had exactly what she just described. One place of entry, armed guards in the school district, and people are dead. We've been trying that for 30 years. It's not working. It is time to try proven policies. Background checks, secure storage, red flag laws. I'm not talking about hunting. I'm just trying to keep our kids and communities safe.
Back here live, the only moment tonight that wasn't contentious, when each was asked to say something nice about the other, and they both complimented each other on how they speak about their daughters and what it is like to have to run as a mother raising children in politics. Devin, Kimberly, we're live on the campus of Oakland University. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Yeah, hard to find much agreement, although they both said they will not be forcing kids to get the COVID vaccine for schools. But interesting here, Mara, the number of absentee ballots that we have already watched coming in means a lot of people have already voted and are not going to be swayed by what they heard tonight.
That's right, Devin. I mean, you know, if you compare and contrast the amount of absentees that have been requested this year, this time, versus 2018, which is the last midterm, 1.8 million now, 1 million then, versus the rate of return, already more than 700,000 have been returned versus 2018, that was about 400,000.
Yeah,
so,
really.
yeah, people have already started voting.
Yeah, extraordinary. All right, Mara. You will be able to hear directly from both candidates tomorrow morning. Governor Whitmer and Tudor Dixon will be joining our morning show in our 6 a.m. hour.
Our other top story, a serial thief is targeting elderly residents in a West Side neighborhood. Since May, Detroit police say there have been nearly a dozen break-ins and attempted break-ins in North Rosedale Park. What's even more concerning, in some of those cases, the residents are home at the time. Pamela Osborne spoke with police who are desperately trying to identify the suspect before anybody gets hurt. Pamela. Kimberly, that's right. I spoke to the detective that's working this case. He really wants everyone at home to take a look at the video that we're about to show you. But first, let me describe to you where we are. We're along Outer Drive. It's a fairly well-lit area, a well-traveled street. Despite all of that, this guy is really comfortable walking up to the homes that he's targeting, trying to pry his way in, whether people are home or not.
It's unsettling, and they're afraid to come out.
On either side of John Enot's home are two elderly women living alone. The pair have something else in common. Both have become the targets of the man you see here on Enot's home surveillance video.
He definitely knows what he's doing. This is not his first rodeo.
Detroit police say this attempted break-in happened in May. Watch as the suspect, shielded by an overgrown bush, goes from one window to the next. Investigators say he spent about 10 minutes trying to pry his way in with no luck. All the while the homeowner was inside. Afterwards,
He didn't run to his car. He just walked real casually and got in his car and took off.
he wasn't gone for long. He forgot something and pulls right up in the driveway to retrieve it.
It's like you're being violated.
Dr. Kim Logan Nolan is the Outer Drive block captain. At least 3 of the incidents police are investigating happened on her block.
It disturbs me because now our senior citizens are being preyed upon.
There is a pattern. Police say the man, who was 6 foot tall and about 30 years old, appears to be working alone and is targeting older women living by themselves.
And we're really concerned about this because some of the homes are occupied at the time of the break-ins.
And now that you've had a look at the suspect, we want to draw your attention to the right side of your screen. This is the vehicle the suspect is believed to be driving around in. Police think it might be an early 2000s model Lincoln LS, either black or dark blue in color. I should mention that he has been successful in some of these break-ins, walking away with thousands of dollars in jewelry. So if anyone out there has information about this vehicle or the man that's wearing that pretty unique shirt there, police definitely want to hear from you. Reporting live tonight, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4.
All right, Pam. One day after the Oxford school shooter pleads guilty to all charges, a new trial date is set for his parents.
Jennifer and James Crumbly are each facing 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter charges in connection with the school shooting. They're accused of negligence for allowing their son access to the gun used in the shooting. During his plea hearing yesterday, Ethan Crumbly admitted he gave his father the money to buy the gun and that the weapon was not locked up. Jury selection for the Crumbleys is set to begin January 17th.
Big development tonight in the Flint Water Crisis. The prosecution team is appealing a judge's order dismissing the felony charges against a group of former government officials. Earlier this month, the judge wiped out the charges for 7 people. That includes the former director of the Department of Health and Human Services. The judge ruled the indictments were invalid because they were procedurally improper, done with what's known as a one-person grand jury. But the prosecution team says there is still a path to pursue charges. We'll stay on it. A Southfield woman is sentenced to prison for a deadly hit and run that killed a 40-year-old mother.
Sharon Kudamati was arrested and charged in the death of Najla Mateen in December of 2019. The Southfield woman was accused of running a red light at McNichols and Telegraph, hitting and killing Mateen, and then leaving the scene. She later took a plea deal that dismissed the most serious charges against her. Today, Kudamati was sentenced to 1 to 15 years in prison for failure to stop at the scene of an accident causing death.
The Detroit Police Department asking for the community's help in providing any leads regarding a robbery of businesses along Livernois. Happened last Friday around 1 o'clock in the morning near Livernois and Clarita. Thieves targeted the Shoe Doctor Sneaker Laundry, which specializes in deep cleaning of shoes. As of right now, police have not released further details, but they are hoping someone saw something there. You can leave information at Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP.
Tonight, Local 4 was proud to partner with DPSCD for a town hall discussion on chronic absenteeism. I was honored to moderate the event, which included a panel of district leaders, including Superintendent Dr. Nikolai Vitti, who talked about some of the reasons chronic absenteeism is such a big problem.
One of the main causes of absenteeism is the concentration of poverty. It's poverty. There are life issues that get in the way of families being able to send their children to school every day. So it might be a transportation issue for that family. It might be that the family has to move from one home to the other, which makes it harder to get to the school that the child was originally at. There are issues with eviction, with power being turned off.
The event was held at Mumford High School. If you missed it, we've put a link for you at clickondetroit.com.
Such a complex problem.
It really
but
is.
we got to solve it.
It's a community
Yep.
problem, too.
That's right.
We
Yep.
do.